what I don't like about the maybe like the movement that Tate has awoken, and not that I like Tate. The upside has been, I think, a lot more men, younger men, are a little bit maybe more aware of being improving themselves, and they take the positive message of self improvement. The negative is definitely, at least, and maybe it's a lot of guys who just, it almost feels like a circle jerk of like who can hate non extremely traditional feminine women the most.
David, thank you for coming on to the Hastings Harvest.
I'm excited to be here, bro. Man, it's been a countdown. I feel like, so we have never spoken. We've never spoken live. We've like messaged, but we've never spoken. So I'm happy to be talking to you.
Yep, just a few voice messages back and forth. And I just want to say thank you first off, because I've been watching you for years now. And I remember being really inspired by your content and the way you filmed it and how much effort you put into your videos, which I do want to talk about. So first off, thank you for that. It's been amazing seeing your journey and getting inspired by you.
It's humbling to hear that, man, because you put a lot of effort into your videos as well. So I guess effort recognize effort or something like that. But
Real recognize real.
real recognize real, effort recognize effort. But no, it's humbling to hear that, man, because your channel is taking off. Your content is fucking dope, and if I play even the smidgeniest little part in that, I'm humbled to hear that.
Thank you, man. So I wanted to start off with taking us back to college. I saw that you minored in computer science in college, and that's interesting to me because I also have a computer science background. I had planned on doing programming, and it was something I was really interested in. So I was wondering, why did you go into that career path, and what made you not want to pursue it any longer?
Yeah, so when I got to college, Boston University, I guess 2008 was when I was first getting into college. I didn't really know what to study, and I chose computer science because like I just used to build my own computers and play video games on them in high school, which doesn't really have much to do with computer science, but it was like tangentially related, so I chose that, and that was going to be my major. But after a year of like a lot of, a heavy load of computer science courses, I mean, it was just like a lot, and it wasn't what I saw myself like doing full time for a long time to come. So I kind of pivoted to something else. But it's still those first year of classes, they teach you like a very like intense logic way of thinking that I still think was useful to learn.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that learning that type of stuff has seeped into all of your entrepreneurial ventures?
Yeah, man, I like to think that like everything we do, like I think Steve Jobs had a quote, right? You can't connect the dots going forward, you can connect them going backwards. But I feel like any skill you learn, it's never like, even though like after that year it felt like a waste, right? It's like, oh man, now I'm kind of like behind on the credits or whatever I need because I got my economics major. But everything you learn like kind of ties back in, at least if you allow it to. So like even if something as simple as like learning like Premiere Pro for video editing, like that's like super easy if before that you're like struggling to write JavaScript or something, right? So I think it definitely, I mean, how do you feel about that? I imagine it's something similar for in your case.
Yeah, I think just my love for technology, which you seem to have. I didn't know you built computers. Like you built PCs as a kid?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to play the games at the highest settings, man. So I had to figure out how to build the damn thing.
Dude, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I have my built PC right next to me. It's so much fun to do that type of stuff. But yeah, my love for technology, I think, has definitely seeped into like Premiere Pro editing. I think wanting to get better at editing and just filming, there's a technological aspect to that. I mean, even starting my first website, I actually coded my first website from scratch to sell fitness plans. Although I feel like I shouldn't have done that and I should have just done a website builder. I think it taught me a lot. And so it did eventually help me in my business. So it was, yeah, it's nice to see those things tied together in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it allows me because I didn't build my website from scratch. But I think my first website, howtobeast.com, was like, it was WordPress based, but I always did like custom, at the very least, like custom styling, like CSS or like some HTML here and there. And I could just like dive into stuff that maybe I would do for 6 hours, like that, like you were saying, probably was not worth 6 hours of my time. But I think when you're doing something, maybe that you can kind of get lost in, the same as like filming, where I could just leave my house with a camera for the day, that you're more likely to get better at it because you're not like I mean, I've met a lot of people who wanna do YouTube or, like, they think they wanna do YouTube, right? But then they just, like they look at the filming process as, like, an annoyance, and that's probably only gonna take you so far unless maybe you're, like, a crazy charismatic or famous person or something.
Definitely. So you've worked a lot of various jobs over the years. Before you started being an entrepreneur, you were interns at these IT companies. You were even a valet at a parking company, if I'm not mistaken.
Bro, you have good memory or is I don't know how you yeah, I must have mentioned that in the video at some random point, but that's not common knowledge.
Yeah, I did a little research. I had to do a little research. So I'm just curious, how have those things also played a part in the development of your character today? Because I think back before I was doing YouTube full time, I was working as a busser. I was mostly in the service industry. And I do think it taught me a lot about dealing with people and just increasing my work ethic. But I was wondering, how have those things shaped you and developed your self awareness as well?
That's a deep question. Yeah, in college, I valeted, and then I also did moving jobs, just like odd jobs with my buddies to make money during college, right? Just to have like the money to support myself. And I think it teaches you definitely a bit of the grind, right? Like, because it's then like in between classes and maybe partying or playing basketball in my case or video games as well. Like also making sure there's maybe just taught me a lot of like how much time there really is in the day. Like, you know, there's not really an excuse. There's not much time to do something, but also just like the value of money. Because when you're grinding at like an hourly job, I think I don't know. Maybe I'm not expressing it on the words, but I think after you grind, if you don't have that experience, maybe you don't fully understand the value of money. And then I imagine I see like a lot of young guys now on Instagram make a lot of money really quick, and then they're also like driving crazy cars right away and all these other things. I mean, maybe it can be sustainable, but I definitely had very frugal mindset because of those humble beginnings, if you want to call it that. Then maybe I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. Whether it's humble beginnings or not, I think we probably had a similar background in terms of just like parents and income. Although I don't know much about yours, but I do think it taught me a bunch about sustainability and playing the long game. I never once thought to myself like, I want to get rich quick. I didn't care about that at all. I cared about building a legacy, building something that will continue to sustain me for years to come. And I think working those odd jobs can do that, and they can also make you realize, at least for me, holy shit, I don't want to be doing this at all for the rest of
Yeah,
my
I don't
life.
think I could ever like trading time for money is a tough one now, right? Maybe it's because of that, because you've seen that and you can't really like multiply that, but you also can't not just for the money generation aspect of it, but if I'm just like valeting one car at a time as one person, that's not like adding a lot of value versus if I don't know, you program some Tesla like algorithm that could valet park the cars by itself or something. That's a weird example, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
I feel though as though I've been struggling with having the same intensity of hunger over the past year or so that I had a few years back before YouTube was big. I remember being in my first apartment ever and waking up really early to be on the grind and just like I really wanted to make it work, and thinking about how many hours of work I put in then as opposed to now, I think it's lessened. And I'm sure that part of it is because, I just have the privilege to do that now, and I'm making enough money to the point where, I can buy everything I need and more. But it seems like for you, I don't know, you've got all of these businesses that you're running at the same time. So I'm wondering how, after you have achieved enough financial success to support yourself, how do you not lose that spark of intensity?
Well, I mean, I definitely do lose it from time to time. I agree. I kind of missed the early YouTube days because that was like the prime years of the grind. That there's something like romantic about remembering. Like I was living in this like 400 tiny little 400 square foot apartment in Boston. Just I'd wake up and I just from sunset to sunrise, I just or the opposite. I would just just me and the camera and Premiere and just constantly. I always say like I ate YouTube, I slept YouTube, I dreamt YouTube. The only thing on my mind ever was like the next YouTube video or the YouTube video that I was working on. And maybe it's not sustainable. Also, after like 5-6 years, for that to like maybe the human brain doesn't work that way that you can just keep thinking like that. So I think the businesses to some degree may have been like a way of finding variety while like continuing down the same path and not like abandoning that, because YouTube's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life, and to me it seems like you'd probably agree from your journey. Um, and the businesses allow me to like double down on that or triple down on that from different angles that are still like kind of serving the same audience, but it's different challenges versus like, I don't know, learning how to do like a mask transition or like trying to improve my on-screen confidence or like thinking of different ways to structure videos and or like give examples for things. Now it's maybe more like figuring out like supply chain things or inventory or like which is the product that most, attracts new customers to the business, and then how do we build off of that? So I don't know. Some of it may have just been to break the monotony, but still like keep doing the same thing. So in my mind, even though they are different projects and the same as, I know you use an editor. I don't know. I don't think you edit all your videos anymore. I know I've heard you talk about using different editors, which is a big step for
Yes.
someone like us. I think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still edit like half of mine, but
Okay, I'm glad you're still the same way even after all these years. It was so hard for me to let go of YouTube a little bit in that way and like hire someone else and put my faith in someone else to actually do the same job as me. Like my ego, that's one of my biggest weaknesses is I think I can do everything. And I'm so glad I've learned how beneficial it is and how much more balanced my life is now that I have that editor. Although I do still edit some of my videos from time to time just because I love that whole process. And I can definitely tell that you love it too because of how much your video quality has improved over the years. And I remember watching one of your videos way back in the day, a few years ago probably, and just seeing the video quality compared to what I was putting out back then. And I was like, holy shit, what is this? What camera is this guy using? And I went to your description and I saw it there and I'm like, there's no chance I'll ever be able to afford this. And now here we are. I think we're using the same camera right now.
the A7S III.
Yep. Yeah, we're using the same camera. And so that leads me to the question.
But I had that exact same, not to cut you off, I had the exact same thing when I first got into YouTube and I watched other YouTubers. That's why I didn't do YouTube for years, because I saw that and like, it was just too intimidating. It was like, no, if I'm going to do YouTube, I need my videos to look like that. And obviously at first you have to like kind of accept they're just going to suck, and there's going to suck at first. But you could continue.
You've got such great equipment. You know how to use it so well. Your editing's amazing. So I'm wondering, how did you learn all of that? Where did you get all the resources to learn all of that?
I think really the simplest answer would be just like one video at a time, right? Like truly at the beginning, I found like six, I don't even know. Was it, we're 2023? I started consistently January 2017. So 6 years in now, I'd say probably the first 3 years was that time. Like I said, I was just like sleeping, breathing, eating YouTube. I was always consciously identifying like 1 to 2 things I was going to either experiment with or just really focus on like incrementally improving on each video, whether it was the hook in the beginning, whether it was the use of background music to with like the change of scenes, whether it was the lighting, being backlit versus front lit or whatever. There was always like very specific things I was focused on. And obviously, along with that, to learn what I was doing, a lot of it was tutorials, mainly just watching videos on YouTube, to be honest, like for like very specific things, like, I don't know, like Premiere Pro glitch transition or something, something simple like that. But also just watching other people's videos who I respected and just like being like, oh, I like how they did that. What if I try and incorporate like a similar technique, like remix it, with my own style in my video, and try to consciously, or like maybe not consciously, but consistently be like remixing the style of the videos.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty similar for me. I have learned most of what I know from Premiere Pro, and that point you made about, or Premiere Pro, I meant about, I learned most about Premiere Pro from YouTube is what
Yeah.
I meant. And that point you made about getting 1% better every video, I think, is so important if you really want to see like crazy exponential progress in just even a few months. You can see if you try to improve on one thing every video. I think that's really the key to getting better at anything, but especially YouTube.
Yeah, I think the metric I always had in my head is if like I can look 3 months back at one video, like the video I just published, and then kind of rewind 3 months, and I would do this and be like, oh, there's a clear difference. That would just make me super happy. That was one of the things I think that kept me going, was just always kind of not, I wasn't doing it every video, but every few months, like kind of looking 3 months back and being like, damn, man, these are looking good. These are looking fresh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love. I was actually looking back at my old videos when I was watching some of your old videos last night, and just seeing how awful they were. I'm like, thank God, man. Thank God I've gotten better than that.
But when I watched my old videos, I don't know if it's the same for you. Obviously, yeah, there's like maybe like the color grading was complete garbage or something, but there's something just like I don't know. They always make me miss the old days as well. Like I guess we were talking about, it makes me miss like the early grinds. Like because I was just like a young, hungry kid who maybe was doing some awkward things or overcompensating on camera in weird ways. But people, honestly, I think maybe even connected with those days more than now, because people connect with those imperfections and those like
Right.
awkward tendencies, I think.
Right. Are you worried about losing your relatability?
Yeah, no, I have, but and that's kind of been one of the reasons recently I've shifted more to like 50% like kind of sit down studio videos, if you will, where it's kind of maybe a similar setup to like what we're doing right now, and 50% that are like the typical how to be stay in the life videos. Um, because and it's I definitely have seen like over the years an increase of comments of like, "Oh, I miss the old days," or like, "He's flexing now." And it's like I've always just shown a day in my life. Just like what a day in my life is has changed over from being in a 400 square foot apartment in Boston to now. And I can't really I'm not gonna just like go move back into a 400 square foot apartment in Boston like just because. But I think this is a change I've made partly for that, partly to be able to utilize editor, partly to free up some of my time for the businesses, but partly also that when it's a more sit down, just direct kind of just like content video, there's no real, not as much of a risk for that at least. How do you feel about that? Because you have similar content to mine. Maybe the style's not always the same, but you've progressed a lot over the last 2 years, obviously.
Losing relatability, I think. Yeah, that's basically what my channel was built on. Is I really started to blow up when I started sharing stories of my past and how I got through them. And I think a lot of my subscribers still see me as like that down bad guy who just got through a breakup and is basically broke. And I feel yeah, I feel like I had to step away from just talking about really depressing shit. Because I feel like that was what my content was built on for a while, and people were like, "It's okay, man, you'll get through it." It's like, no, I'm sharing. I already got through it. Like I'm good now. I'm good now. And so, yeah, I feel like deep down, humans are all on a relatable level. Like we all share the same sufferings, the same thoughts, negative thoughts. We all deal with at the baseline level those things. And I think it's important for every YouTuber to share those things, especially in self-improvement. Like the biggest impact you can make on somebody is to tell them, I understand what you're going through, and I went through the same thing. And for some reason, that just makes shit click in their brain, and they just feel better instantly when they know that they're not alone in their struggle. And
Well, I think
so,
you're such a masterful storyteller that even maybe if I'm further along in my journey now than maybe your target audience is right now, even when you're telling those stories, I'll go back to feeling the pain when I was in the exact same situation in my life. You do a very good job with with stories. I think that's like your superpower as a YouTuber, man, honestly.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I really do love the storytelling aspect of everything. But I have been shifting my content recently to I've been making video essays now. I think that's really fun. I've been doing just like storytime animations, like making stories. And so, yeah, it's been shifting a bit, mostly positive response. but we'll have to see where the channel is in like 5 to 10 years. And that makes me wonder, what is your focus with YouTube? How has it transitioned over the years? I know you're doing more like sit down videos, but what do you see for the future of your YouTube channel? What's the main goal?
It's I mean, I think put simply, the main goal would be like continuing to like share the lessons that I've learned through my life experiences and hopefully have a positive impact on more and more men, because at least my content is, definitely mainly for men. I don't know exactly how that's done. I think that's probably the biggest challenge about YouTube is, if we're being honest, probably just like building an audience from scratch. But I think it's even harder to maintain that longevity, because I know a lot of YouTubers who've continued to do well over the years, but I know even more who've done really well and then slowly faded away. And my channel's gone through ups and downs. It's gone through some big swings, ups and downs through the years, and that it's tough. Having the longevity is tough, and I think part of it is maintaining the relatability, but part of it is also like still being passionate about the content that you're making, because it's tough to make the same video also for like year after year after year, even if the content's changing. Like that's another part of the studio video for me. It's just like it feels fresh, so it gets me a little bit more excited. And then now when I balance that, I feel more excited about the day in the life videos. I can bring more creativity there. But I think longevity, I don't have the answer for it. I think but that part of that challenge is what excites me as well, right? Because it's hard. YouTube's a bitch, man. You know that as well as anyone. And getting the momentum's a bitch, but it's even a bigger bitch to keep the momentum going.
For sure. For sure.
It's
Yes.
like it's truly the definition of like, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. Like it's truly that definition.
Yeah, you constantly have to be evolving on YouTube. It seems like the meta of the algorithm is changing every few
It goes
months.
through, yeah, man. It shifts, and the
Yeah.
competition is more cutthroat than ever, too.
Oh yeah, especially in the self-improvement space.
Yeah.
And that actually makes me wonder, the self-improvement niche as a whole has grown so much, especially in like the past year or two.
Mhm.
What do you think the pros and cons to that change are?
Well, when I got started, there's always been men's self improvement channels. There always has been, right? But when I got started, outside of like Alpha M and like Teacher Men's Fashion, there wasn't too many other like household names. Obviously, more recently, I think it's a little bit over the red pill wave now, but like that was the more recent wave of like male self improvement, was like the more like extreme red pill you could go. I think the more attention you got. I think we've kind of maybe started to balance that out a little bit. But obviously the pros would be that like more men probably in like their teens and early 20s are self-improvement like aware than when I was in my early teens and 20s, where I still felt like it was really 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 weird thing to be doing. And I'm sure even before me it was even weird, felt even weirder. The cons, I don't, maybe that some of like the red pill stuff, that people are more just trying to be reactionary rather than maybe actually like improve people's lives. They just know that if they say really, and this is social media as a whole, but like the more like of a reaction you can get, then you get that like feedback loop, kind of a positive feedback loop, I guess, where you get more shares and likes and comments. And then maybe a lot of the content now, I don't know, is the person's true motivation to really be helping people, or is it more like that like the dangers of that feedback loop? But I feel like that's kind of right in your ball house. So I'm curious your thoughts. Your wheelhouse, not
On
your ball house, right? Like
the pros and,
yeah, the pros and cons of the growth of the self
Mhm.
improvement.
I think it's mostly amazing. I think modern society's gotten to a tipping point with young people where they're really starting to understand just how bad a lot of this shit is. Whereas like you were talking about 5, 6 years ago, people knew, but it wasn't like, let's still just use our phones and binge drink and eat junk food and just do unfulfilling stuff. And yeah, I remember getting roasted for doing self-improvement stuff like 5 years ago when I started getting into it.
That's why I didn't start for years, man. Because I was like,
Yeah,
man, people from my like college, high school are gonna think like David's such a weirdo putting out these
right,
videos. That stopped me for a long time.
right. Isn't that funny that the weird thing is helping yourself and improving yourself? Like that's the weird thing to people. So I like that it's being more accepted in the younger generations. At least I think so, based on what I see online. And of course, a lot of these guys, they don't have much of a purpose. Less guys are going to college. The dating market's completely skewed. And so it kind of gives them a path to move towards, and some type of path is better than no path at all, for sure, for young men. And so that's amazing. The only cons is really when, I've had ups and downs with self-improvement where I feel like I've had a really big ego because of it, and I thought that my way of living on self-improvement was like the only right way of living, and I became the guy who was like, if you're not doing this, then you're a piece of shit. Like,
You're
you're
starting to
just
now
lower than me.
label. You're trying to like label people who are not actively trying to improve themselves as losers, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had like a superiority complex. So that's
But
happened.
but does it? I almost think like overcompensation is usually needed in the short term to get to like a happy medium in every part of life, and I feel like part of self improvement is definitely that, where you go through the phase where you're like fuck it, I'm better than this guy because I'm working on X, Y, and Z. I'm better than that guy because he's not doing this. And maybe there's some people who can just like get right into like a healthy flow, but I don't know. Because for me, it was the same thing. Whereas for me, I went to like definitely went to like a big overcompensation phase also, from like feeling like a loser to like trying to convince myself that everyone else was a loser.
Right. Right. Yeah, I guess yeah. It's two sides of the extreme, and then you eventually find the balance no matter what. So if that's inevitable, then I guess it doesn't really count as a con. But yeah, then there's other, like, I don't know, just the whole rise of Manosphere, red pill. There's a lot of things I definitely disagree with. These traditional values that
Which like part of, aside from like the obvious extreme ones, are there any, like when you say traditional values, and I think me and you have similar like kind of balanced views on things, where like we take a middle path rather than either extreme, but which like traditional values to you seem, or the way maybe they're being presented to you seem like a con, I guess.
I think that, well, gender roles are obviously a very controversial one. And I do think there are certain outliers where, it's pretty rare though, where there can be like the same gender role with both people, almost like both of them have more of like a masculine energy to them or more of a feminine energy to them, and it'll work perfectly fine. But so when people think that the gender roles just need to be exactly a certain way, perhaps sometimes that can not be the best for some couples. Although I do feel
So
like the more that I've
you're saying there needs, generally you would think there needs to be a polarity, but maybe it's not always the man needing to be the absolute masculine role in every
right,
aspect of relationships. Sometimes maybe the
right,
woman takes the more active role in some aspects versus the man.
exactly, yeah. There's a bit of nuance to it, along with all that stuff. I think that's one thing, and then men needing to fit this one very rigid archetype I talk about a lot, where they need to be an entrepreneur, have a six pack, have a certain haircut, dress a certain way. And it's like, that's what a real man is. Like, that's what we should be aspiring to be. I think what being a man is much more related to just being a good person in general. Apart from, a few things I think that is really masculine energy, which is like assertiveness and dominance and decisiveness. I suppose those could be more important for men to develop, but the majority of what men should be is just being a good person, I think.
Yeah, what I don't like about the, maybe like the movement that Tate has awoken, and not that I like Tate. I mean, I'll say it openly. I like him. That doesn't mean I agree with everything he says, but like I think the downside of it has, the upside has been, I think a lot more men, younger men, are a little bit maybe more aware of improving themselves, and they take the positive message of self improvement. And that's, I think the positive outweighs the negative here, but the negative is definitely, at least, and maybe it's like a lot of things, it's overblown in the comments online, but you see a lot of guys who just, it almost feels like a circle jerk of like who can hate women the most, or at least hate non extremely traditional feminine women the most, which is like, I mean, I've put out a lot of content on this, but like, are you really being like a confident high value man if you're leaving hate comments towards women online? Like, come on.
Right. I just saw you post today, I think it was,
Yeah,
of
it's one of them.
like
Yeah, yeah.
men leaving comments like that, just hating on women. When you get too deep into the red pill, I feel like, and you just consume a bunch of red pill content that is only promoting a certain type of woman, when they like put up like TikTok videos, let's say, or YouTube videos, TikTok videos of women on the street and they're interviewing them, and they start to think, oh, that's how all women are. And it's
Yeah.
just like a select few of women who, you know, like to go
Well,
out to the club, and then they are very promiscuous, and then
and
they
that's
just start to
okay.
think,
People, right?
right,
That's also like people should be able to do what they want, right?
right,
And
right.
that's another thing is like, yeah, there's gonna be some promiscuous women out there who aren't feminine, and like that's also okay. Just don't date those women if that's not what you want. But it's funny to me because I do put out videos that are about like, hey, top red flags and women to watch out for, and then those guys are in the comments cheering. And I think it's important to like also recognize the red flags in women, and again, it doesn't mean someone's a bad person, but maybe they're not the best like partner to be like spending time with. But then I put out the other content calling out the guys who are like hating on them, and then some people's head explode. I think because they're like, wait, but he said the other thing. It's like, well, both
Yes,
things can be true. There's always nuance.
right. That's the biggest struggle I have with my content too. Is it feels like a lot of people think I'm contradicting myself all the time. It's like, well, are you red pill or are you not red pill? It's like, well, I agree with some stuff the red pill says, but also I don't. And that's possible. And that's just, that blows people's minds that that's even possible. And I don't know whether that's like
No,
just a
because
critical
it would be
thinking
so.
problem.
Well, that video you put out was great, by the way, on critical thinking, and it's gotten the views that it definitely deserves. But yeah, I think it would be really easy. Right now, the easiest thing I could do for my content, just if I just wanted to get more comments and views, would just be to put out a bunch of like extreme red pill esque videos, like really extreme in that direction. And I'm sure it would pop off more than what I'm trying to do, which is like paint a balanced picture and actually share things that could be like empowering, but not just for men, but like also lead to like a better like world, right? Like it's not just only about empowering men is not like the only goal I feel like that I have, right? It's actually like improving their lives in a sustainable way because I think a lot of people now may be going for like the cheap um giving men like the cheap high of just like women are bad, everything you do is right, like fuck everything else. And like there's a large population of men online who are gravitating towards that because of course it feels good. And I think that also is, obviously like symptomatic of like underlying things in our society that haven't been fair towards men. But it's also like, I don't know. I think we're both kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think people's first reaction of your channel is when they scroll through?
I don't know. That's a good question, man. I definitely see comments from time to time, and again, but we also notice the negative comments more than the positive ones. I think that's just like human
Yes.
nature. But I definitely see comments from time to time that make me happy. That are like, at first, this guy seemed like a total douchebag, but after seeing a few of your videos, bro, like I kind of like them, and those are my favorite comments. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because I
Hmm.
guess people don't genuinely leave a comment that would be the opposite. That was like, at first, I really like this guy, and I'm still watching, so I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah.
What
I've,
what what are your thoughts for
for
you, I
your
guess.
channel or for my channel?
Well, I guess for both maybe. I'm interested.
I think for my channel, because of the thumbnails I make, people assume I'm very like red pill, and I've had comments even shocked that I'm not conservative or more Republican. And I would say I probably lean more to the left if we were to look at all my beliefs. So yeah, I think people's initial impression is like red pill guy, and I do that on purpose. Is I make these thumbnails that would reel in that type of red pill, really red pilled young guy who is watching this video because that type of video is going to show up on his algorithm, and it's also going to confirm his biases. And then I give him kind of a more nuanced perspective, something deeper to think about than just, hey, maybe everything you've been watching recently is not all right. So, but at first, I think that's what people think. When I look at your channel, I think it's kind of similar. I think your thumbnails are certainly interesting. I honestly, dude, I see your thumbnails because I watch a lot of your videos. So your video pretty much always pops up on my recommended when it comes out. I get a great laugh out of a lot of them. They're like the whole, because I understand the game you're playing and I understand the game of YouTube, and I'm just like, oh boy, that's interesting. So yeah, I think when people see you, they see you immediately as like a very red pilled person. I think, you know, the thumbnails you're using, the titles you're using, it's even more so than mine. I think you are like, it's really fully red pilled almost.
Yeah, maybe we're both playing I mean, we have very different content styles. Maybe we're both playing a similar game there. Maybe I haven't even fully conceptualized it, but I would agree we're like it's going really hard on the red pill thing because it's maybe a little bit more polarizing, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, that draws people in. And then obviously most of our I mean I mean the titles and the thumbnails are one thing, right? But
Yeah.
98% of the time and of thought and effort I put into a video are like the content. And it's that's the one thing that I think sucks the most as a YouTuber, because typically uh, maybe some are more interested in like the title and the thumbnail, but for me it's a lot more diving into like the video concept. And then a lot of times before I'm putting the video live, I'm sitting there for a few hours like, God, and now I gotta make sure people actually watch this thing.
Hmm. How much clickbait do you think is too much clickbait?
So that's a good question. I try to do a lot less than I've done in the past. I think that for me, typically though, clickbait is going to be used in a video that's more going to be like a day in the lifestyle video or something sharing about something from my life. It's usually not going to be too much applied to a video that's like content or advice focused. But I would definitely say that from my 6 years on YouTube, clickbait works the best, at least in the sense that I do it, when it's like maybe like a once a month thing. Because as soon as you start doing it too much, obviously, I mean, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? It's kind of an obvious conclusion here. Like you overdo it, and then like the first time each month, let's say, maybe it's not exactly that, but something like that, it's going to hit hard. It's going to draw people in. People aren't going to be that bothered by it. There's going to be some clickbait comments, but it's going to be more like about the concept of the video. But then you follow it up too quickly with another one. Not only are the views not as good, but then you start to get a few more of like the negative reactions from people, which from my perspective, it's always been like, well, I'm trying to just like bring like some curiosity into like the storyline of the video, but I can also understand when it's overdone that it feels a bit disingenuous.
I've noticed the same thing as I've clickbaited over the years. Is if you do it too much, I think your audience starts to like lose trust in you a little bit, and they're like, it makes them even more less likely to click on the video if you're like really overdoing it. So, you know, doing it here and there is usually the best balance for it, I've found.
Yeah. I don't think you should do none because I think it's fun. Maybe gets under people's skin a little bit, but not enough that it bothers them. It creates a little bit of an emotional like a toxic relationship, but not too toxic. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like it brings some
Yeah.
intrigue from time to time. It spices things up, but not too
Hmm.
much.
Hmm. That is true. So you have, I believe, a Marcus Aurelius tattoo on your arm. Is that right?
Yeah, let's see if I can. There he is. You can see his face pretty good
Yes.
right there. Yes, there he is.
Yes. And was that your first tattoo?
I have a small one on my back here, but that was that's the small one on my back's like right like this big maybe on my right shoulder blade. But Marcus was the first like big piece, I guess. Yeah, the start of
Okay.
the sleeve. Yeah,
So you must have gotten into Stoicism way back in the day then.
yeah. Back when I got in the book, I always recommend to people because when people ask, it's called A Guide to the Good Life: The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy. I forget the author's name, but man, how did I? Do you remember Tynan? Tynan, he was an old pickup coach. Tynan. Okay, he was like part of like the OG pickup guys, and he went more into like self improvement, a little bit away from like self improvement, productivity, some of these things, entrepreneurship. And I was following his blog, and I guess he wasn't huge because he was like interacting with everyone on the blog. And I asked him like, "Hey, this is where I'm at in my journey. What books would you recommend me to read?" And he recommended that as the first one, and it just I hadn't really heard of stoicism or that way of thinking, and it kind of like blew my mind almost to like, oh, this really makes sense as kind of like a consciously choosing a philosophy for like how how my life and how I perceive events. And that was once I'd started self improvement, but that was definitely maybe one of like the main turning points in terms of actually at least having less anxiety and more like mental momentum, positive like mental momentum.
How do you think Stoicism has influenced the way you go about your YouTube channel, your businesses, and just life in general? What do you think are the biggest things you're applying from Stoicism on a daily basis?
I think it's allowed me to be like intensely focused on the things I can control. That's one of the basic like stoicism things though, like what's actually in like your control versus what's like tangentially in your control versus what's not in your control. And one thing that's always not in your control is like actions you've already taken, right? And a lot of times, at least in my life, that's been big roadblocks is when I take like a bad action, whether it was earlier like something stupid messing something up with a girl, or more recently maybe bad business decisions that like led to like significant losses of like money or potential money. And like stoicism allows me, I think the way Marcus puts it in meditations is like when something bad happens, it's like you got hit by like an arrow from enemy archer, and it's like if you stay down, then like the second arrow is going to hit, and that's when you're fucked, like that's when you're dead. But like you don't have to like let the second arrow hit. You can also just be like, that sucks, but like what do I focus on now? So I think it's allowed me to like when bad things happen and negative things happen to like not dwell on them and kind of be able to like, maybe it's like a small setback rather than like this catastrophic thing mentally. Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing.
You have more businesses than I can even remember at this point, and so much so that I had to write them down. You have, your YouTube channel, now a dating business, I'm pretty sure, the fitness app, the clothing company, and now even a supplement company.
Mm.
So those all seem like pretty huge successes. I'm curious to hear about more of your failures. What type of businesses have you tried in the past, or some type of thing like a business in the
Mm.
past? What has failed and what did you learn from it?
I mean, the most recent thing I would say, like the supplement line, while we probably can't categorize it as a complete failure, like it didn't. We had a good launch to my initial audience, but we just haven't been able to get traction from there. So in my mind, it's like a failure in the sense, not that we've given up on it, but like an initial failure in the sense that like the business model we were hoping for to like work and scale didn't, and we've taken a step back. We're coming out with some new products with like a different marketing strategy, and if that doesn't work, we have a different plan. But like that has been one that like that was in the red for a while. We're like a little over break even now, but like relative to my expectations, that failed. But again, it kind of sucked for a little bit. We took a step back. That's when I started with a partner, and we kind of identified, okay, what do we try next? What makes the most sense to try next? Not just like, oh, this sucks type of thing. Edge has had a lot of failures along the way. Like it's Edge is like started. I started back in 2018, and like it's every year it's made a little bit more income than the last year. This year it's actually maybe making the biggest leap, but there's been a lot of mistakes we made. Like part was finding like a 3PL is what you'd call it's like a fulfillment warehouse that will like store the goods and ship them for you when orders are placed through Shopify. But like we picked a really really bad one at first, and they lost thousands of dollars of inventory back when I wasn't really making any money. We had around Black Friday, maybe in 2020, I think we had hundreds of thousands of dollars inventory that was incorrectly delivered to like Amazon warehouse instead of our warehouse. And we like little by little, like got most of it back. But, that was still like in terms of sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars lost because like we couldn't sell it on Black Friday when like it was meant to be sold. It was just like random inventory like arriving as Amazon like sorted through the incorrect stuff and got some of it back to us. Really early on, I would say that when I was just doing howtobeast.com, which was a blog before YouTube, and I had maybe 1,000 or I don't know, somewhere from 1,000 to 5,000 like email subscribers. And back then that was like how you did like online marketing was just like through your email list. Like that's like what every digital marketer would say. I would like grind my ass off for like months building up some awesome confidence course. I think the first one was called we had Bold 30, we had 30 days to alpha. Before that, it was called like Unleash the Beast or something. It was like a 28-day like video course and like different confidence challenges, comfort zone challenges that I put months of work into, and I launched and made like $200 or something, bro. And it was just like, God, what am I doing? That was when I like really doubted like the alternate career path and was going to go back to trying to find like a software job because I was like, it's not gonna work out. So there's been a lot of, in terms of the businesses, I could keep going, but there's been a lot of like things that I would classify as failures. Yeah.
Hmm. What were the some of the biggest lessons you learned from those?
Well, like the early ones, it was more like I think I was trying to like grind out money with just without big enough or enough bought in of an audience to do so, right? Like I had some like blog readers, but not they weren't like dedicated people who truly trusted me and were gonna like not buy, but also like invest a month of their life into like a confidence course. So I think when I'd switched to YouTube, it was kind of I'm going to do a year of this. Is I was like, I'm not going to sell anything this year. I have enough money saved up that I can just do a year of YouTube. And if I don't see like the idea being like I just need to like focus on creating good content, actually generating like value for people, and hopefully they'll I'll start to build like an audience that trusts me over time. And that's like the best decision I ever made. So at first it was kind of stepping away from trying to like grind out like courses with a small not bought in audience, which I think a lot of that is a mistake a lot of people make. They're trying to like too quickly get a return on the investment being like their time making content when like you every successful well, not every, but at least every successful creator that I know well, none of them got into YouTube for the money. It was always more like I really enjoy making videos and I think I can make cool videos. And for some of them maybe it's to help people's lives, for some of them maybe it's to share their lives. But that was definitely a big lesson up front.
How do you manage to juggle all of these things? What does your time management look like?
Well, I'll say that after I had Edge going and the Beastly app, and I was still doing everything on YouTube myself. I had Julia, my my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, she was working with me, but no one else was, and I was always this kind of what we were talking about earlier, but I was always so afraid to hire anyone. And then we hired our first like employee, I guess second employee. Julia was the first one, and it was just kind of like a disaster where I think there was kind of bad blood starting to form between all of us. And I kind of realized like, bro, I have no idea what I'm doing as a boss. Like I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm not giving up any responsibility. I'm mad when someone does something wrong. And I hired like a business consultant slash coach that I taught that my friend introduced me to, and he just understood like kind of the basics of like building businesses and managing employees. And I think get like not just hiring him, and this was like kind of like maybe like $1,000 per like call once a week or something. It wasn't like a cheap thing, but like making that investment and then kind of just like trusting him on obviously not like what YouTube video I'm going to make next, but like how does it make sense to structure this part of the business versus what we're doing now. I think part of it was that's when I finally turned a corner and started to like build out systems that didn't rely on me doing everything. So for most of the businesses, I mean, I'm involved in all of them and like the crucial components, but we use a lot of agencies. We have a lot of like not a lot, but we have a handful of remote employees as well. And I think just being able to like rely on other people and also understanding from time to time things are going to break because like this morning I was looking in at like the 3PL, the fulfillment warehouse we use, and there's like a bunch of things that I should have caught like audited like months ago that I didn't till now, but that's kind of part of it when you're not doing everything yourself is from time to time things will slip under the radar and being okay with that and knowing that like I don't know if that fully answers the question, but little by little giving up responsibilities for things, being able to identify like what's actually like the most crucial piece of my time investment here. And also something recently that's been big for me is understanding that like I'm not going to get everything off of my plate every day. And I can't keep putting pressure on myself that, hey, no, but like I'm just going to be anxiously working at everything every day until it's done. Like there's now being able to step away and say, hey, this will get done tomorrow. If it doesn't get done tomorrow, it'll get done the next day. But I'm not the type of person just gonna let it go, but being okay, not like compulsively having to like finish things even if they're not done well. Um, all the time. There's a little bit of a scatterbrained answer, but
How do you go about balancing the entrepreneurship side of things, marketing, networking, scaling with the creative side of things? I think I struggle with being super organized and knowing that entrepreneurship requires me to be like almost a businessman in a way when really I just want to make videos all day and upload them and not have to figure out the marketing tactics behind everything. Do you think those things actually go together or does one hinder the other?
man, I mean that's something I struggle with. I don't I guess for me at first when like at first a lot of times businesses can be like creative challenges, at least if you look at them that way. Um But I guess maybe the way I look at the business is like at first it's on me to like creatively like create this creatively create, but like to create the systems that that like the business will rely on. But then like being able to hand them off to someone else, or like know that businesses are like, of course, YouTube is like becomes slightly more monotonous the more you do it, but like businesses more quickly become monotonous. Like, right? Like yes, there's some need for like new products or new marketing strategies, but it's not the same as like 2 new videos a week or something like that. It's not the same. So I guess part of it is maybe understanding that like it's okay for businesses to get monotonous. And then at that point it's probably better like pay an employee or an agency to like handle that aspect of it for you. And also finding good people to partner with has been big for me. Like at first I hired an employee to do like our paid advertising full time, but like he understood the basics, but unless I was like challenging him to like think of new strategies, like nothing, no like advancements were being made. It was just like the maintenance was happening. So like, but eventually like I was referred through another business owner I know, like marketing agency they used, and like this is after it probably happened a few times, but eventually I found one who like they were actually genuinely like passionate about marketing, and like so they're working on strategies on their own. I can just hop on a call with them once a week and kind of say, hey, what content do you need from me? That way I can focus on creating like the marketing content for them. And the same thing even with like the shorts. Like I knew I needed to do short form content for a while. Maybe not needed to, but it would be been a beneficial thing. But I just don't personally. I don't care about. I don't like watching short form content. I don't want to make it. I don't really like believe in it as like an old man YouTuber like yelling at the wall. But I found similarly like someone who had followed the channel, had reached out to me. It was kind of like a longer conversation, and then kind of like gave him a chance. But like he's thinking of new strategies as well. He's suggesting new ideas. So I think it also helps to be able to find. And it's tough with employees. That's why I've had better luck with agencies. But like other people who are like genuinely passionate about what they do, and they don't work with like a a large number of clients, and they're kind of like excited to work with you as well. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean that's not something you can force, I guess. Though it's like
Yeah.
from time to time when you recognize that you have a chance to work with someone, I guess to like, hey, like this person could be a real asset. Like giving them a chance in those moments, I guess.
You go through phases of self improvement where you're at the start consuming a lot of knowledge and then applying it. And I feel like I get my knowledge now just from application of doing things rather than just reading about something. Like I haven't read a nonfiction book fully in like the past couple of years, I think, except for one. I've just been reading fiction, which I find much more enjoyable and beneficial, especially with my content.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think you go through different phases depending on what point you're at in your self improvement journey. But a couple more questions. First is your communication skills, like I said, are really, really great. I think the way you present yourself on camera is very it's impactful. It's impactful when you listen to something you're saying. What are the biggest communication tips you could give to a young guy, what they should do, how to get better at those things?
I mean, one of them, it's not like the easy answer, but filming myself 2 videos a week and watching it over years is like that's been the biggest impact on my communication skills. If we're being honest, I think also before that, like in my early like working on my social confidence and dating life days, like be trying to be self-aware as I approach girls I didn't know, because I'm someone who like I'm like a big mumbler when like by default. So like I have to like that helped me become more conscious about it, being able to like speak like you speak very like slowly in a non-reactive way, at your own pace. And I think part of that I did learn through like approaching random girls with my friends, like or at least with one wingman. And then afterwards, I think sometimes you get positive reinforcement from that. Like, hey man, it was really, like when she said that and you kind of just like looked at her for a minute and then responded, like that was like, I think that really helped you get her number. Or it could be something silly like that. But I think a combination of like working on my dating life and then also YouTube, because I'm not someone who was like naturally a good communicator at all. I still don't even, I guess I don't look at myself as a good communicator still, but thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, I certainly didn't start off as a good communicator either, and I feel the same way. Honestly, it's definitely a little different when I'm live like this or in person with someone. But the biggest thing that's helped me as well is filming myself for years. It
Yeah.
really has been the most helpful thing. for sure.
Well, yeah, you very quickly identify like awkward or like kind of like off thing. Like I used to do this thing when I first started YouTube. Where I'd, like if you look at my old video, I kind of like talk out of like the side of my mouth. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. It must have been a nervous thing, but like you so
Hmm.
quickly will identify these things if you film yourself repeatedly.
You've done a whole lot in the entrepreneurial space. What are the three books you think that have impacted you the most in that endeavor?
I got to think back. I actually have a list of books I'm pulling up that I refer to from time to time. It hasn't been anything recently. Okay, first I'll say the same one I said, A Guide to the Good Life. That one's
Hmm.
it's by William B. Irvine because again, just like having the stoic mindset of like focusing on focusing on the things that matter and being able to like embrace times of discomfort, I think is that's like key to any progress in any area of life. This is a kind of a classic. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I don't know if you read that. It's from
Hmm.
Meet Sethi. It's like very basic personal finance, but it also just helped me have an understanding of money that like should be taught in schools, but it's not taught in schools. So I would put that one up there, and then maybe Getting Things Done. That's another like old school self improvement one by David Allen, but it really hammers into your head the importance of always like identifying, hey, for each project, what's the next action, and like as long as yeah, like you said, I have like five different businesses going on or whatnot, but I can very quickly like circle in through my head. Okay, for each business, what's like the one next thing that matters? And now it's not like, oh my god, I got five businesses that I have to manage. It's like, it's kind of like five next action steps, and that's like I don't really need anything else like on my like my RAM, my short term memory. Like my
Hmm.
my temporary memory in my head. I don't have to really be worrying about anything else.
Mm. Gotcha. So I usually end off these podcasts asking the same question that I've actually stolen from Tim Ferriss. And I feel like I got to get my new question by now, or my own question by now. But the question is, if you had the ability to put up a quote, a picture, something like that on a billboard everywhere for everyone to see, what would it say or have on it and why?
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
That is a good one. I see those a lot on Instagram and stuff like that. Those nice cinematic Instagram reels.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
it. I like it.
It's simple but true.
Thank you again so much for coming on the podcast. Had a great time getting to know you more and just kind of getting a long set to talk with you. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. If people want to find you, where should they look?
How to Beast on whichever platform, except Twitter. Still don't do Twitter, but any other platform, How to Beast, and you'll find me. And also, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Excited to hopefully soon meet in person in
Yes.
Texas.
Yes, that'd be dope. Awesome. All right. Thanks, man.